And now, it's Coast Vue with Ricky Matthews. Brought to you by J. Allen Toyota, Gulf Coast Business Supply, and AGJ Systems and Networks on SuperTalk 103.1 FM.
Welcome to Coast Vue, the show that celebrates the men and women who are making coastal Mississippi, and like I always like to add, and Mississippi for that matter, one of the most amazing places on earth, a great place to live, work, and play. Hey, last week I talked a little bit in a conversation with Kyle about Ernest Hemingway. This is somebody I really enjoy reading. It's one of the greatest writers ever. And one of the things I quoted was from a conversation he had with a guy named Robert Manning, who's the executive editor of The Atlantic back in 1954. They were sitting in his house in Cuba overlooking the city of Havana. And during that conversation, Hemingway said this: "It's wonderful to get out on the water. I need it." And then Hemingway gestured toward the ocean and he said this: "It's the last free place there is, the sea." As I pointed out last week, that's as true today as it was back in 1954, but so much insight from Hemingway. Obviously, I'm not surprised by it, just such a thoughtful writer and thinker. But he describes, frankly, that drawl that exists here in coastal Mississippi. It's the last free place there is, the sea. I've always been also an admirer of John Muir. He was the naturalist, a conservationist, a writer. He's an early advocate of conservation and preservation of the wilderness here in the United States. And he said back in the turn of the century, this quote: "And into the forest I go to lose my mind and find my soul." Into the forest I go to lose my mind and find my soul. I've been an outdoorsman my entire life since I was just a baby. I was really fortunate because I had a dad and grandfathers who loved to hunt and fish. So they taught me to find myself in the outdoors. And I often said, and I've said it here on the show before, that when I was young, the outdoors literally saved me. I can honestly tell you that it saved me. And frankly, it's a place that I continue to find my soul today. And now that I have kids and grandkids, I've taught my daughter and my sons and my grandkids a love of the outdoors. I went on early in my career, to volunteer extensively in the outdoors. I ultimately became president of the Mississippi Wildlife Federation. That's the state's largest and oldest conservation organization. And it was a pleasure to have the opportunity to understand the role that conservation and outdoors plays in the state of Mississippi. And it's extensive. I mean, it's truly extensive. And recently I had an opportunity to work closely with Will Primos. He's the founder of Primos Hunting Products. And we worked together on a bill that was before the state legislature called the Conservation Trust Fund. The bill actually ultimately died due to lack of support from the lieutenant governor. But I think it will come back, and we'll have another go at it. But frankly, Will and I were super disappointed, as were lots of outdoorsmen across this state. This trust fund actually will create this fund that enables us to go out and get a lot of federal matching money. And so it's really important to the state. So I'm hoping that eventually we'll succeed in putting that together. But if you know hunting, you know the Primos brand, and you know Will Primos and his team basically revolutionized outdoors TV. And they have been incredible ambassadors for the state of Mississippi for many, many years. And more recently, if you study what they've been doing, they're making that transition. I came from a digital media world. I understand the transition they're going through really well. The TV show continues to do well. They're branching out into other multimedia capabilities, doing short videos on YouTube and social media and doing podcasts. You know how this works. What I learned about Will along the way, though, is that he loves coastal Mississippi. He actually spent some time here as a kid fishing in Back Bay and off the coast of Mississippi. And he's going to join me on Coast Vue toward the end of June. But recently, one of the stars of his hunting show, Lake Pickle, and I met just briefly while I was headed up to check on some hunting ground I have in the Delta. I decided to see if I could find Will's place. And I invited Lake to join me here on Coast Vue so that we could talk about their popular TV show, his passion for hunting, our love for the outdoors in Mississippi, and his popular podcast. So without any further ado, let me welcome to Coast Vue my friend Lake Pickle. How you doing, Lake?
And I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on. Pleasure.
It's great to have you. So where are you? Where are you sitting right now?
I'm in Flora, Mississippi right now. I'm actually, this is where I live. I was in the office this morning, because we just wrapped up turkey season and everything, but the office is so hustly and bustly and I don't live far from here. I was like, let me just get back to my house where I know I can be in a somewhat controlled environment. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now.
Well, no, listen, we'll have a whole show together. We got a chance to kind of cover the waterfront, but turkey season, I know because I've followed you guys closely, not just because of, if you go back to Will's early life and, the mouth call that he developed and how that sort of revolutionized turkey hunting in America. You guys, it's almost a religious experience, really, when you guys go into the wild. And I saw you when I gave you that John Muir statement, and into the forest I go to lose my mind and find my soul. When you heard that, you know exactly what that means, don't you?
Yes, sir. I was fortunate enough to, when I attended college, I went to Mississippi State as a wildlife fisheries and aquaculture student. And the professors up there and that whole department, the forest resources, I have nothing but good things to say about them. And so we learned about John Muir. We learned some of my favorite quotes in relation to wildlife and the outdoors and everything, or John Muir or Dane Darling or Aldo Leupold. So yes, I have a soft spot. So when you started quoting John Muir, I definitely appreciated that.
Well, when Will talks about turkey hunting in particular, but you guys love to do all kinds of hunting. You hunt all across the country. You've been actually outside the country hunting, but he refers to turkey hunting especially as a religious experience. Literally, there's something about when you're sitting there and you hear the turkey gobbling. There's this moment where all of your troubles, all your stresses in life are set aside, and all that you're really involved in that moment is what God's great, majesty has to offer. I'm not overstating that, am I?
Not at all. We actually, there was not to run back. If I start talking about turkeys, I can go deep really quick, just because turkeys is what started my whole deep dive into hunting. It kind of is what led to evolving into everything else. And my whole start with turkey hunting started with watching the Truth 12, which was a Primos videos back in those days when they were doing the double stack VHSs. And so, yeah, I can even remember we did a podcast episode. It was last spring, but Troy and I were talking specifically about that just because, bare honesty, back during last year, I was going through a pretty tough time. Everyone was. That was when everyone was mid-pandemic and all that. And we talked about how we found solace in when we were turkey hunting, and in that moment, really everything, just like you said, everything got blocked out. There was no worries of the world. There was no life troubles. There was no bills. There was none of that. It was just you and nature and that turkey. And I think we all sometimes appreciate the privilege to get lost in that. That's one of the beauties of it.
It is so true. And, a lot of us learn, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, we learn a love of the outdoors from our parents or grandfathers or grandparents. And I feel for people who didn't have it introduced to them. Now, I have a lot of friends, actually, that along the way, while they didn't learn it generationally, as an adult, they sort of said, I want to learn about that. And the first time they went on a really good duck hunt or went on a deer hunt and saw that if you sit still, wildlife comes alive around you, and you see your first deer in the wild, or if you go on a turkey hunt, there's something magnetic about those moments that draw people in. And I thank God that we still have this opportunity to introduce the outdoors to people who maybe didn't have it, introduced to them because it was part of their culture, their family. But it's so important. It really, we're gonna talk about your story. You got involved in filming. You eventually sort of worked your way into an opportunity to do some filming with the Primos group, eventually became a full-time employee. We'll tell a little bit about that. You've actually expanded. If you look at each of the members of the team that are part of the TV show, they've all sort of branched out and done interesting things with their careers. And now you're actually working on Whitetail Properties, which is a real estate company. And you're literally able to combine your passion with your business in a way that's really, really powerful. So we're going to tell that story. So let's take a step back for just a second. You learned to love the outdoors at a very young age from family members. Tell about that.
So I think all of my immediate family would agree that I kind of took hunting a little bit farther than everyone else. But yes, I as I got older, I realized how lucky I was to get the exposure that I did.
Let's do this. When we come back after the break, this is Lake Pickle. He works with Whitetail Properties. He's on the very popular hunting show, the Primos hunting show. If you love the outdoors and you're involved in hunting at all, you probably know about that show. When we come back, we'll talk about his early days, how he fell in love with hunting, and how it emerged into this incredible opportunity to work with Will and team closely over the last several years, and even becoming a star of the show these days. So we'll be back after this break.
Coast Vue on SuperTalk 103.1 is brought to you by J. Allen Toyota on I-10 exit 38 Gulfport. See all the incredible inventory at allentoyota.com. And remember, when you think Toyota, think J. Allen Toyota.
Hey, South Mississippi, it's Jay Allen at Jay Allen Toyota, and I got something new for you for 2021. It's the Jay Allen Certified Collection. What that means is we selected our very best inventory with under 75,000 miles, and they're 6 years old or newer. That comes with a multi-point inspection, a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty, and a 3-day buyback guarantee. So come check out the Jay Allen Certified Pre-Owned Collection right here, I-10 exit 38 in Gulfport, or on allentoyota.com.
The streets of downtown Gulfport will be lined with food trucks this Saturday for Ugly Tie Fest. Finally, a festival for Dad. Ice-cold beer, great live music all day, classic motorcycles, and delicious food truck food. So come hungry and ready to have some fun. Bring your dad and the whole family to Ugly Tie Fest in downtown Gulfport, Saturday, 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. Admission is free.
When COVID started, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply began stocking hard-to-find PPE items. When Amazon and other mega internet companies were out of stock or inflating prices, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply was providing local schools and businesses vital PPE supplies at fair prices. When your office needs PPE supplies, office furniture, or products to keep your business operating, consider Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply. We sell that too. Buy local.
If Alexa's part of your life, you've got one more way to access SuperTalk. SuperTalk Mississippi is now available on Amazon Alexa devices. Once enabled, just say, Alexa, play SuperTalk Mississippi at any time and start listening. It's that easy. Just one more way to stay informed and connected with your state. Learn more at supertalk.fm/Alexa. SuperTalk Mississippi. SuperTalk Mississippi. Now available on Amazon Alexa devices. Feeling down? Here's your prescription for a daily dose of good news and positive vibes. Good Things with Rebecca Turner. Every afternoon, Rebecca highlights all the good things happening right here in the state you call home. Daily exposure to Good Things with Rebecca Turner may cause smiling, feelings of positivity, happiness, and even laughter. When you experience these symptoms, tell your friends to listen. Okay. Weekdays starting at 2 p.m. here on SuperTalk Mississippi and now on Amazon Alexa devices.
106.3 Casino Radio is here. Tune to 106.3 to discover all of our must-see attractions and everything that's happening at our 12 incredible casino resorts. Where to eat, where to stay, what to do, and where to play. 106.3 Casino Radio has you covered with everything you need to know to help make your visit here to the coast one you'll never forget. Turn on 106.3 Casino Radio or listen now on our website, CasinoRadio1063.com.
Talking to the people that help make the coast such a unique place to live. This is Coast View with Ricky Matthews on Super Talk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast View. And into the forest I go to lose my mind and find my soul. John Muir. Mississippi is positioned some of the best offshore and backwater fishing in the world, really. And some of the best, outdoors opportunities in the world right here in Mississippi. And I'm having the opportunity this morning to visit with my friend Lake Pickle, who is, he's part of the Will Primos team, the Primos Outdoors, the truth about hunting. And what's the other statement that you guys use?
Speak the language. Speak
the language, which is kind of it was actually, if you think back, for the brand Primos, speak the language was absolutely the perfect brand promise. It really was. I thought I read it at one point that in the past it was something like in the woods, and it evolved into speak the language, but it was perfect, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, and it was for the woods earlier. And then, but even in my younger days when I got attached to Primos, it was already speak the language at that point. So it's been speak the language ever since I've really.
Yeah, absolutely. Because what he did, he duck calls and turkey calls and all kinds of calls from elk to white-tailed deer and all points in between, and then hunting blinds and all the other stuff that they developed along the way. But anyway, we're talking with Lake Pickle, and when we went to break, he was telling us about the early days and how substantial hunting came to his life. So let's continue that conversation, part of the story, Lake.
Sure. So I was saying that I realized as I got older how lucky I was to get introduced to those things, because it's basic principles that someone like me or someone like you that grew up around this don't really think too much on. But at a very young age, I was taught the principle that you can gain actual sustenance from the land. I can remember killing my first deer with my dad and my brother on our little piece of family ground we have in Webster County. I can remember going with my older brother and my grandpa we called it the catfish pond. I don't know why we called it the catfish pond. We never caught catfish out of there, but we would catch stringerfuls of brim and take them around to Mimi's backyard. We would scale them with spoons, and then she would fry them whole. And it's memories like that just kind of sparked a love for everything outdoors, whether it be hunting or fishing, and that just kind of evolved into everything else. Because as I got older and was able to drive and pick up bow hunting, and then when, like I said, kind of alluded to earlier, when I started turkey hunting, that's when it really started to snowball. But it started early for me.
Well, if you talk to someone who loves the outdoors like we do, if I were to take you now into my garage, I have 4 freezers in my garage, and they're full of fish and deer meat and deer sausage and you name it. And when you say sustenance, that's really important, because it's probably what we're doing is some of the most pure organic eating that you can do, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. And it's delicious on top of that.
It's delicious on top of that, for sure. So you had an opportunity, you got into filming with another organization, but eventually that brought you back to do some kind of fill-in work, I think it was, for Primos, and then eventually a full-time opportunity to work for Primos. And you got matched up with a guy who you sort of stayed matched up with on the show for quite a while before you started actually getting in front of the camera yourself. Tell a little bit about how special that was for you.
Yeah, so everyone kind of has the way I can describe it the best is a lot of kids, they say so-and-so is your childhood hero. And so quite literally, I grew up watching the Andy Griffith Show and Primos, so Will and Brad and Jimmy and Troy, all those guys were just people that I looked up to. And so I had done this internship with Midwest Whitetail, and I had told them, that I'm so thankful for that internship and the guys there. And they were very well aware that Primos was kind of my end goal, or in a perfect world, this is how it would work out. And they ended up putting me in contact with Brad Ferris, who Brad has been tied and affiliated with Primos forever. Long story short, Brad is the one I ended up running into Brad after I'd been emailing him on and off for a year or so. And the way I can explain it is I can thank my parents for this. For one thing that no one will ever forget about me They may forget everything else, but they're not going to forget my name, because my name is just, it's a different name. And so when I ran into Brad and said, hey, I'm Lake Pickle, he knew immediately this is the kid that's been emailing me about video work. And they happened to need somebody coming up that fall. I did not know that at the time. I thank the good Lord just for the timing on that. But yeah, that went from